Welcome to our Just for September small group. This fall, we'll be spending 4 weeks in Genesis discussing some of the most well-known stories in the Bible. The creation of all things, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, the tragic moment when Adam and Eve disobey God and are banished from Eden. Third, that time when the Lord told Noah to build him an arky, like we sang about in Sunday school. And finally, God's call to Abraham and the covenant God makes with him and his descendants. Each week, we'll be covering the same texts that our new rector, the Reverend Dane Boston, will be teaching about on Sunday mornings. I'm excited about the opportunity for us to start off this new chapter for St. Martin's by opening up the first chapter of the Bible and reading God's Word together. I really do believe that when God's people do that, powerful things happen. Let's dig then into chapter 1. You can probably think of origin stories that tell the genesis or beginning of all kinds of things, like Superman or Spider-Man or Batman or the United States, the Roman Empire, your own family, and on and on and on. If you're getting to know someone for the first time, you'll ask them something like, "Tell me your story. Where are you from? Who are your people?" We ask these questions because we want to know what made us who we are, how we got our start. Well, Genesis is a story like that. It's the origin story for the whole creation, as well as for the people of Israel, and for all of us who are numbered among Abraham's children. Whether you know it or not, this book is actually your origin story. This story has a lot to tell us about who you are and who we are together as God's people. I want to say just a few words about the genre of this chapter, because growing up, I was taught that this chapter said the world was created in a literal 7-day period about 6,000 years ago, and if you believe the Bible is true, well, that's just what you have to believe. I've come to see it differently since then, although no less true and no less God's holy word. I think we should always ask ourselves the question, not whether this or that part of the Bible is true, because it's all God's truth, but what kind of truth it is. What literary genre is this? How is it communicating God's truth to us? Many commentators see this chapter as something like an epic poem, showing us deep truths about God's creation of the cosmos, but not really trying to be straightforward history. You may or may not think that sounds right, but when I first came to see the text that way, I found it to be very helpful. Another thing I find helpful is to compare this chapter to other creation stories that were popular thousands of years ago. In ancient Babylon, there was a saga that told the story of how at the beginning of the world there was this great battle between the gods, featuring dragons and lots of blood, and our world was made as part of this bloody struggle for dominance. How different this chapter from Genesis sounds. There's no struggle, no violence, only God peacefully speaking the cosmos into being with a wondrous and beautiful order. And God saw that it was good, and it was good. I take great comfort in that the world isn't just chaos and struggle and violence all the way down, but instead harmony and purposeful order and goodness. God's peaceable kingdom at its core. God designed our world, crafted it with care, and in creation, we can see his wisdom and love. Finally, the passages here about the creation of humanity, male and female, in God's image are so rich and important. I hope that you'll spend some time reflecting on this together. God gave us to each other as men and women in partnership to be good stewards of the world he made. To bear God's image in God's world means that we are God's royal representatives, charged with caring for his good world and bringing out its inner potential like gardeners in a garden. It all culminates in Sabbath rest, enjoying what God made and giving him thanks and praise. I hope you'll find a lot to talk about together this week as we read together the first chapter of God's Word.